Hi, I'm Denise, host of the Working Moms Redefined podcast. Let's join together as we lessen the hold of mom guilt in our lives, thrive in our careers, and raise great kids. You are doing enough. Let us boost your confidence today on this episode of the Working Moms Redefined podcast. Justice is hard. Authenticity is hard. Being vulnerable is hard. And we're not talking about that justice in the courtroom where you slam things down and you say, I will bring justice to this scenario. We are talking about making sure that voices are heard around a table and that the right people get a seat. It's Denise, and you are listening to the Working Moms Redefined podcast. We are excited to not only talk about those core values, but how, as working parents, our connection and correlation to profit and impact might actually be a little construed. I'm excited to welcome to the podcast Maggie Strong. She is the owner of Strong Consulting, and she helps communities achieve so many wonderful things, whether it's positivity, sustainable change, communication, and she does it all through strategy. So she's actually making a plan and sticking to it. She, of course, also enjoys empowering women like you and I to lead with clarity, confidence, and courage. Maggie is based in Central Illinois with her husband, Aaron, and they have 3 children. We are excited to learn all about Maggie. Maggie, welcome to the Working Moms Redefined podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
When you are watching on our YouTube channel, you can see the sincerity that Maggie brings to the table each and every time. And the cool thing is, guys, she's like this day in and day out. Maggie, can you share with us what our listeners might expect to learn or take away from our conversation today?
I hope people are a little bit more courageous after today in their actions and how they show up in everyday situations, how they stay true to themselves, maybe get clear on making some decisions that have been tough that really align with their values and who they want to be.
Before we get to know exactly what you do, I would love to know where your passion comes from for this type of work.
It really came from, I'll tell you a story. When I was very young, not even old enough to cross the street, we had this lovely neighbor lady who we thought was scary because she looked a little older. She was probably 60, but to me, she was 90 years old, almost dead. And she looked a little scary. And so I decided, I think I must have just watched Pollyanna. So I decided I was going to go introduce myself to her. And her name was Mrs. Wessels. And I became lifelong friends with Mrs. Wessels. I used to sit on her porch and listen to her. She would read novels. She was just one of those women who was amazing. She was retired and she loved having me there. I loved being there, and we became fast friends. And what I learned from her is service. I didn't know it at the time, but how involved she was with the community and volunteering and just saving her pennies, she'd always say, to help different causes and make an impact. And I really saw that, and it became something that I wanted to embody and be. And so our lifelong friendship, she passed away at 92 years old, quite a few years ago now, but I look to her and I think about her and the things that I do, and whether it's through work or volunteering or with family, I think about her and her example. And so that's why I do what I do and want to continue to be involved.
We're excited to learn more about ways that Maggie not only does that herself, but will encourage us to do so. But Maggie, tell me what you get to do for your work.
Sure. I help communities and I help nonprofits. And I like to say I like to help them turn ideas into action, think creatively and act strategically. And I do that from a lot of strategy work. I do that in facilitation, and I've done that more and more with public engagement. And I believe in equitable public engagement. So getting everybody around the table to help make decisions about their communities.
And to have those good conversations that so many times we just either have in a side office or don't even have at all. You facilitate those conversations to be able to really bring to light what communities and people are needing and wanting. It's beautiful. Your core values, we've prefaced them a little bit by saying justice and authenticity. Why is it those two that stand out the most for you? And then how do they show up in a daily basis for both you in your work and at home?
Yeah. So justice for me really ties back to that public engagement. It is making sure every voice is heard and every person has the opportunity to be heard, has respect and basic dignity. That has been something that I think is just inborn in me. I remember from a very small age being upset if somebody was being treated the wrong way on the, you know, on the playground. So I've just always felt very cautious and careful and almost empathetic and want to make sure that everybody is getting what they need in their lives. And then authenticity really is something that I've come to after a number of years of doing values work, and that is just really being truthful to myself, being transparent with others about who I am, what I have to offer, and doing what I say I'm going to do. So it's encouraging myself to be authentic and also encouraging other people to be authentic.
This is different than like in a courtroom and justice will be served, right? We're not
Yes.
talking about that. And yet, Maggie, was there ever a time where you felt like you didn't get to share your thoughts or your experience or strategy that has now stemmed you to be able to ask others?
Yeah, I think every woman has been in a room where they were not heard or valued or asked or even, even to this day. And so I have been in those places. Of course, I consider myself a person of privilege. I was born in the right place with the right family and the right look, all those things. So I am very privileged when it comes to that. But I am a woman in a world where, we still listen to men a lot. And I think that's somewhere where I can connect with people and say, yeah, I've been in a space where somebody didn't value what I had to say. And it's taken a lot of work for me to continue to stand up and say, no, I'm going to be heard and this is what I have to say and it's worthy and it's valuable. And so I want to see that for everybody, not just myself.
Mm. Which dovetails nicely right into this conversation about income. We've
Mhm.
often seen tension about impact and income for
Mhm.
women. I mean, over years, there's still a discrepancy. And it's interesting because I just don't think that sometimes, especially with purpose-driven work, because when you're working with nonprofits or if you want to give more than actually you're receiving and vice versa, I even find myself sometimes having a challenge in how much to charge or even a scarcity mindset when it comes to
Mhm.
those types of things. Or, ooh, even like this, equating my value to a dollar amount.
Yeah.
We know that that is difficult. And oftentimes people don't, that aren't working for themselves or aren't pricing their own packages or services like you and I. It's 8 to 5. You, of course, equate your worth to an hourly value. And that is not healthy for our mindsets. Where do you have passion in talking about that? And why do you believe that there is profit and it is essential?
Yeah. Yeah. So I wasn't always able to do this work for what I think is important as far as making an impact and making a profit. And I think what it came down to is I had a friend one time point out to me, she's like, "What would you tell a younger version of yourself who wasn't in your position? And how would you tell them what their value was? Would you want to undervalue them because, oh, maybe you don't need it as much as the next person, or yeah, they're nonprofits, so they can't pay that much. Everything's scarce." And she's like, "What would you coach somebody else in?" And I said, "Well, I tell them they're worth it and the value they bring is going to be worth it. And they need to ask for what they're worth." And so it was easier for me to take myself out of the equation and kind of think about it from the outside of, let's talk about what the next generation, what the next Maggie, what the next Denise will need and how they can be supported and be supportive in their lives. And so I even have this little card here, make an impact and profit. Because that helps me remember the two things that I want, my call to courage, if you will, is making an impact and a profit, because profit is not greed. It's really, for me, it's capacity. It's my ability to profit funds my quality of work. I can have better tools, better teammates, time to think. It can help reduce that burnout and turnover if I make more money. And then profit helps me be more impactful. So I can use this money to do good, not that I have to give it all away. And certainly I don't. I want things to be nice for my family and I want to contribute to our household. But I can also do some extra things if I have that profit and I can be somebody who has resources rather than being somebody who needs those resources. So that's what profit does for me and why I've kind of shifted over my career and making that an important piece of what I do.
I once, along that mindset of, taking yourself out of that equation, when I was working at a radio station, my sales manager at the time said, if you price things too low, it actually gives off the perception that it's not worth very much. And
Okay.
yeah, you're not worth very much. You don't think it's worth very much. And then in turn, you're going to be mad and on that cycle of, oh my goodness, there's just so much work. Why didn't I charge more? And so
Mhm.
when you look at people not as, oh, this is a way for me to make a money or make an income or make a living, but
Mhm.
it's a way to serve people better, that mind shift has such power.
I think women who are resourced, especially, can lead better and they could lead longer. And that's what we need. We need more women. We need more people who are resourced who can do good with what they, what they make and what they have in the world. So that's what I want to be a part of.
And having this conversation around money, so many people just don't. There
Mhm.
are conversations growing up in our farm family that my dad and his parents need to have. And I joke around from time to time. I'm like, Dad, if only you knew someone who could facilitate conversations around hard things. Dad, how do you personally decide, in addition to, how to price things, right? You
Mhm.
equate the value of time and your education and how you can best serve. But how do you then personally decide which clients and projects to work on or work with?
Yeah, it's taken some time. Certainly I have not figured it out all the way, but I think I've grown more in my intuition. So I can look at a project, a potential project, and one say, are you going to be able to pay me what I need you to pay me in order for me to do what I need to do and give it the time and resources and energy I need to put into this. So it comes down to money is do you have a realistic budget for excellence? Is the mission connecting, you know? Is the mission connecting to what my values are and what I wanna make an impact in? Um, is how you're working going to be realistic? Are you being, do you have the resources? Are the leaders, involved and ready to do the hard work? So I think those things really come into play when I decide if I'm doing a project or not. And I tell you, the time and energy I have saved on not doing every single proposal and deciding beforehand, this is not my best, this is not where I need to be right now has been just amazing. It's helped me, that saying that no protects your yeses, right? So what I can say no to really quickly then allows me to work even faster and better with the people that make sense for me to work with.
This conversation and that we've had thus far is really great for those women who kind of run their own businesses and name their own
Mhm.
price. For those women who might be working an 8 to 5, how do you suggest that if they are in that season where they want to amp up their income,
Mhm.
how might you suggest to do it? Or maybe the first step is how do we change that mindset to not equate our time to dollar? I haven't really been in that mindset since, 15, 18 years ago.
Mhm. Yeah, same. It's almost been 10 for me. I think people, no matter where they are, can be leaders in the work that they do. Everybody's a leader if you're looking at it as that mindset, even if you have an org chart that's 5 deep ahead of you and maybe even none below you. Um, they need to start thinking about what impact they're making in the work they do, right? And that
Mm.
we want to allow them to consider what is the value. Think about it from your the perspective of what value are you bringing your employer, your clients, the people you're working with on behalf of your employer. And then if you want to advocate for yourself in a position, that's what you need to have those conversations about. And it can't just be quickly, it can't be just, overnight you decide I'm going to walk in and say, "Hey, I need more of this," because, and not give a reason. You have to build your own case and look at it objectively and maybe have, some get a shared colleague, get a colleague or a friend to help you walk through the scenarios of why your work should be valued and why if you're looking for an increase, it should be, you should be increased. And that is not just because you're a good person and you want more money so you can do more things. It has to be connected to what you're bringing to the job and the people that you're serving. So if you can connect those things, that's when you're ready to take that case to the person who is going to make those decisions. And then show up and do what you say you're going to do.
Oh, do the right thing when no one is looking.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's most of my career has just been doing what I say I'm going to do.
Rising above that expectation because it's providing that exceptional experience. You referenced that earlier. Before we get too much off of the money talk, because it's so interesting to me, and that's something that you really empower women to talk about and that justice behind it. Is it wrong of me to say I've worked with hundreds of businesses, so I'm leaning on your expertise as well. Is it wrong of me to say, hey, if you're a leader and you are controlling other people's incomes, you better believe that they are talking about how much they are making. Previously, discussions I know were not had around, oh, I'm making this. How much are you making? Like previously, we did not use to talk about that. I think, based on stories that I have seen and seen it and done it myself, that is absolutely not true. People are talking about it. Would you agree?
I would agree. And yeah, recent now I'm in a position for an interim period of time where I am managing some individuals, and I've heard these conversations now and they've been open with me, and I think transparency is good. We need transparency in all forms, and obviously there's places where we have to not share certain things, but when we can share and when we can say things to other folks, then that's what we need to be able to do.
Something to at least keep in mind when it comes to leaders in our communities and in our businesses, because conversations are being had. And I love your take on that, Maggie, about that is transparency. And as leaders, we need to remember that those conversations are happening, not only for the transparency part, but for, you know, the value piece, that justice in impact around income. And it's such a cool conversation. I don't want to go too much into that because sometimes this information already could have been a lot for people. They're like, wait, what? I'm not supposed to equate my dollar amount to my worth? No, shockingly. And I'll be honest, Maggie, and maybe you do this too. Every time I get a yes out of a speaking engagement, I don't do that for some of the local stuff because there is an economy that is different here than across the country. But every time I put a proposal together for a speaking engagement and they don't even question my price, there's a piece in my mind that goes, ah, crap. I didn't
Yeah,
price that high enough. And then
absolutely.
the next time I'm bumping it up by $200 easily. And it's not easy because there is a little bit of struggle and a thought process that goes through my mind in saying, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to provide this value for $200? Heck, you know?
Yeah.
So I love your perspective of taking yourself out of the equation, because if that was you talking to me about that, I'd be like, Maggie, boost it by 400.
Yes. Yes. You need somebody, and I'm sure you have this in your life, but I have dear friends and colleagues. Julie Bull is one of my dear friends and colleagues, coaches. I've been lucky to be on her journey since she began. And she is that person for me. And she'll say, no, you're worth more than that. No, don't question this, do this. And sometimes you need that person. Everyone needs that person in your life. So if you don't have that, find that person, because they're gonna make your value even and go up exponentially.
Maggie is talking about Julie Bull, who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. I'm going to link that episode in the show notes so you can see who Maggie is talking about. But the cool thing is, for me, for someone who is a little bit younger than both of you, getting to see women supporting women like that. And now instantly I thought, oh, I was supposed to tell Julie that we were supposed to get to coffee together. And now I'm like, all three of us are going to coffee now.
That's right.
Be able to see that relationship and have good people on your team is so important. And that is a testament to your values that we have talked about from the very beginning. And you have said that courage is your personal calling. Will you
Mhm.
define to me courage from your perspective and how it has evolved who you are today?
I think courage has been taking action despite the risk, um, and in the presence of risk. And that action has to be aligned with my values. So I have many times said things where I probably, would have been easier maybe if I would have just stayed seated and not raised my hand and said, I don't know about this. But I'll tell you, every time I have said that in meetings, large, small, one-on-ones, in emails, I am so much more aligned with who I am, that authenticity and that justice piece, that there's really not an option for me anymore to not say what I think needs to be said and not to speak the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. And that might include being vulnerable and letting people see what's behind everything. But it has been so important to do those little things on a daily basis that are standing up and saying, no, let's look at this a different way, or why didn't we invite these people, or why are you making this decision without X, Y, and Z? That it's been worth it to me. And I don't think I could live any other way, unfortunately, even though maybe it would be easier sometimes. But it's just, and I say unfortunately, it's not, it's fortunate. I'm lucky to have that in me. It's probably something that was instilled from my parents, and just doing the right thing and speaking up, and that's what I think courage is all about. Just not the heroic dramatic actions, but that everyday like bravery, that speaking up when you know you need to speak up.
That gave me chills. Because not all of us have been taught that from a young age. And
Yes.
think about it, in school, right? We're often judged for asking, for sharing, for speaking up. Like, oh my gosh, eye rolls or groans or, ugh, you don't know the answer to that question. I mean, it's ingrained in us from a very young age. Maggie, you have 3 kids. How did you start teaching and sharing this type of thought process with them? And I ask not only for me myself to teach my kids, but for all of us listening.
Oh, I mean, I have wonderful kids. So Alex is 18 and he's just started college this year at John Wood, and Charlie's going to be 16, and Cecilia's she's 13 and rocking 8th grade. So they're getting a little bit older. And so things have changed a little bit in how we communicate. And I think what has changed the most is talking about how we can do hard things, because they've seen me recently and always do things that were really difficult in work, but doing it for the right reasons. And so we talk every day, and kind of our mantra when I drop them off at school is be kind, be brave, and be strong. Um, be strong. So letting them know and letting them see the work I'm doing, and that it's hard, and I don't always know if I'm doing the right thing in every move that I make, and many times I'm not, but that I'm going to keep going and try to do things for the right reasons, has, I hope, instilled in them what I wasn't, was instilled in me, which is we're here to help other people and do our best, and we're not going to be perfect, and we're going to fail, and we're going to get back up, and we're going to try it again. And that's, I hope, what my kids are taking into life. And I see that already. So I believe they're all good humans, and I can't wait to see what they do with that. And I can't wait to watch. So it's
So proud. So proud, not only of you, but of them. And also, I wish that my last name was Strong. How cool is that?
I told my husband that we were keeping Strong. It wouldn't have mattered if it was his or mine, that was it. So he was lucky that it was his. So
I think sometimes sharing life, especially hard things in life with our kids, is something that a lot of us think that we should protect them from. And yet, that's the exact opposite of what you and I are talking about. It's sharing that vulnerability. And Maggie, it's not that I'm not proud of this. It's that it still, I think, is a sore point for me, which means I haven't forgiven the other person. But this summer at the fair, there was a hard conversation that needed to be had between me and a community member. And it involved, derogatory things being said about my sister. And I think you and I both know that when they come for your sister or your brother, you better watch out. Like,
yeah.
I am older child, claws coming. You don't get to talk like that. Well, to the point where I was yelled at in front of people. And that wasn't the hard thing that bothered me. It was the tension when he left. He just left. I will say, I don't know about you, but sometimes when you have these types of hard conversations and you stand up for yourself, you might want to elevate to that other person's level, but that's actually not what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to calm and almost whisper to get them to lean in. And that's what I did. And yet I don't love conflict. I love working through conflict, but I don't love unresolved conflict. And so when this person just decided, well, enough of enough is enough, he just left. He left, stormed off, and we didn't reach resolution. It's okay. We're not going to. And yet my heart was sad and I cried and I shared with our kids. I cried in front of our kids and they said, "Why are you sad?" And I explained the scenario. And it's so interesting because oftentimes when people find things in stories, like Sydney said, "Oh, were you sad that you got yelled at?" Absolutely not. Bring it on, right? That's what would have made her sad. I worked through that with her and I said, "No, it is actually the fact that we didn't meet a resolution and there's still tension there and I didn't get to resolve that." Her face, because I talked to them like this, was just like, "Huh?" And not 3 weeks later, when school was in session, she goes, "I know what you're talking about, mommy, when you say
Oh.
tension now." And she goes, "There was tension between me and this other girl." And I walked right up to her on the first day of school and I said, "Name, let's not argue this year and have a good year."
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
And had I not cried, showed
Yeah.
some things that I was not proud of, and yet pointed out what we could have done differently, maybe that wouldn't have happened. And so you're not going to give yourself enough credit, as I'm sure you are very much deserving, but yet I know that you do the same thing. And it's, how do we have courageous conversations? Well, sometimes it's getting vulnerable and honest about things that aren't so great.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Letting our kids know that this is hard for us too, and we're going to make mistakes and it's okay. As long as we're helping, correct those mistakes and trying to do what's best. And that, yeah, it can be hard, but it's so valuable, I think, for them to see that. And yeah, let them see our tears. Let them see the difficulty in what we're trying to do.
So many women leaders like you and I are blazing trails, and I love that thought process. And yet, what are you wanting to make possible for the next generation to know? What is your hope for them, or what kind of example do you hope to set for those who, like me, are following in your blazing trail?
Oh, well, we're walking alongside each other, I would say. And I think I want people to walk alongside me and let me help them see that you can be unapologetically profitable and also make an impact and do those things together and, respect yourself in that service of others. So I want people to know that they can make a difference, and making that difference doesn't come at the expense of helping them support their own families, and those things are not mutually exclusive. Does that make sense to you? I want
Yeah.
people to say that they can make an impact and a profit, and I want my daughter to be able to do that. My sons too, obviously, but I want those women who are younger than me in the next generation to know that they have value, and they better, work to do what they can to get that back in the world so that they can put it back out there.
Absolutely. You can do good and make good money doing good.
And you could do even more if you have good money.
There is this hope and dream of mine that eventually, when things in different realms within Working Moms Redefined takes off, I want to, as you can tell, the icon, I want to give young adults their first pair of heels for their job interview. And that's like a nonprofit in the back of my mind. Well, once you have to define what enough is and then be able to give back in that way, well, enough looks different for a lot of different people, but it's our mindset. We have to identify what that looks like. And it's fun and exciting and yet different and courageous. So my question, I guess, for you is, have you changed your definition of what is enough in regards to profit for you each year? And then do you set goals, or do you pray, or do you manifest? Like, what does that look like for you?
All the things, and it is a work in progress for sure. Um, I am continually evaluating what I'm doing, for what costs and for what reasons.
Mm,
And it's certainly the first half of my consulting career, I was I would say lucky's not the right word because I put myself in a position and I showed people the value, but work was coming to me. And that's still the case. I tend to not market myself too much because I always have enough. I'm always the next project, it always seems to come to me, which has been wonderful. But that's also been something that I think I can change and be more proactive and be more intentional. So that's what I'm doing now is saying, what kind of work do I want where I can make the greatest impact and also the profit that I need and have defined. And so that's has been a recent switch for me because it used to just be like, oh, these things are coming. This is how much I'm going to charge. And thank you for reaching out. And now it is more intentional. And I'm thinking, this is what I want to do. This is where I'm going to put my stake in the ground and how I can help and be the best version for you and show up. And that is different for me. It's certainly a newer concept for me, and I'm excited to be in that realm for the first time in my consulting careers. And I think that's allowing me to make that profit and that impact even more.
I love that you're vulnerable in the sense of we are forever learners. And the minute that we start saying, oh, I don't need to learn that, oh, there is your demise. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. I am learning so much every single day and stretching beyond what I ever thought I could recently. And it's what I can say is that at the end of the day, I can hug my daughter and say we can do hard things, and that really makes it all worth it. It helps me get to the next day at this point, which sometimes it's hard. So
You're persevering each and every day.
that's right.
As we start to wrap things up before our lightning round style of questions, if you were talking specifically to me or someone like me or someone even who's working an 8 to 5 and you want to empower women to do the next thing, whatever that might look like, what would you say to her?
Get really clear on your values, on why you're doing what you're doing and what impact you want to make in the world, and then make decisions based on those. Everybody's values are a little different. It could be family for you. It could be, faith. There's so many different ways to look at things. So mine happen to be justice and authenticity. Not that I don't care about all these other values, but those are the two that kind of drive me every day. And I make my decisions based on that in work and in life. And I think I would tell people to do some work around values, consider what is most important to you. And then, what they say about how you spend your days is how you spend your life. Are the things on your calendar every day aligning with those values? If not, think about changing that calendar. And what do you need to do to do that?
How would you suggest, there's tons of activities that people can do, and yet how would you suggest that someone sits down tonight, lunch hour, after the kids go to bed, and start really noticing or logging their values? What might you suggest to them?
So obviously AI or Google like values work. I love Brene Brown. That's where I Dare to Lead, is where I kind of entered into like defining what my values were. So look up Dare to Lead, look up Brene Brown and values work. And you can start by just looking at a list of different values and go through that list really quick and see which ones make the most sense to you very quickly. Do it real quick. And then, maybe have 10 that you circled and then go back through it and think again, what would really matter to me if I had to only choose 5, and then keep narrowing those down and they might change over time. But I think that's a good process that I've gone through is really, narrowing those down to what is most important to you. If you only had to choose 2, what would they be and why? And I think anybody could do that, now that we have all these different tools at our disposal. So do some values work, figure out what is most important to you, and then start using those to make decisions.
Beautiful. She wrapped it up so nicely. Maggie, lightning round. First answer that comes to mind, explain answer, and then why. Okay. If you could have dinner with one female leader, who would it be and why? Past or present?
Oh, Angela Merkel, German chancellor. I know it's so random.
I love that aim.
Yeah, Angela. She's the old German chancellor, and I just think she was a badass. Just from the little I've known about her, it's so random, but I just think she's really cool. So
Okay.
she makes decisions. Yeah, look her up. I mean, any world leader, but yes, it's such a random answer, but I've always admired her from afar.
Definitely looking her up. Okay.
Yeah.
What is one small daily ritual that you do that totally grounds you?
So right now I have a small commute, which is the first time in my life. And so I will listen to music on the way there and back. And that takes me into and out of what I need to be prepared for the day. So I love to sing really loud in my in my car by myself.
I'm going to need your favorite song now to blare
Oh gosh, I don't even know.
or artist.
I've got so many. I like Brandy Carlisle. I've been listening to randomly a lot of her. So,
I love it.
and then if I need a throwback and I'm really angry or something, I go back to Alanis Morissette, which tells my age. But there's just a few songs that really I connect with her a lot on.
I
So,
love it. I love it. What is a book that completely changed your perspective in the best way possible?
one that I'm reading right now is, oh my gosh, it's Hospitality, Unreasonable Hospitality. And it is from a gentleman who's been in food service and like one of the most expensive, nicest restaurants in the world in New York City. And he talks about how how their hospitality is just to the point of it's unreasonable how much they're hospitable to people. And I think that could just be taken and used in everything. You go above and beyond for serving people, and I think that can be used in all different ways
I love
when
it.
you're working with people. So I love that one.
Final question. We were talking about impact and profit. What is your favorite thing that you have ever used your profit to purchase for you and only you?
Oh, only me. My travel. Um, So yeah, I can't choose just one trip, but I've been to Spain. I'm taking our family is going to New York City in the fall, and I just love to, when I can experience new things. And I think it's all about experience, right? So
I love it.
not
Oh,
one
that was
thing,
such a
but
good
travel.
answer. Travel, travel,
Yeah.
100%. Obviously, so many of you are going to be wanting to reach out to Maggie, and we will put her contact information, her social, her website, all of that good stuff so you can reach out and learn more about Maggie, have a conversation, and really live life along somebody who is going to lift you up and help you realize that your impact and profit can live hand in hand. And let's not feel guilty about that
Mhm.
or shame or any other sort of feeling that we might be producing on ourselves that we as women and working moms already do way too much of. Thank you, Maggie, for this time. What a blessing you are. We'll be reminding both our daughters and sons that not only can you do hard things, but we can do hard things. Thank you for listening to the Working Moms Redefined podcast. It is not lost on me that you chose to spend time together. Thank you. Let's connect outside of the space on socials. We'd love for you to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. We've got it all to connect with you. If you feel as if someone in your life could be impacted by this message, feel free to share it. That is the biggest compliment. As we part ways together, remember, you can do hard things. Do you think she had or has had decision fatigue?
Probably.